Imagine a person standing at the edge of fear. He said it, uncertain, retreating. This is not weakness. This is the avoidant heart, a heart that has built walls so tall, even they sometimes cannot climb over them. And yet there comes a moment, a single magnificent defining moment when those walls start to crumble, not because you demanded it, not because you chased them relentlessly, but because something within them awakens. That moment is the spark of courage. That moment is the triumph of emotional bravery. And here's the secret. It happens when they feel that you are not a threat, that your presence is a safe harbor in the storm of their own inner chaos. They look at you and for the first time see not the vulnerability that scares them, but the love that strengthens them. You see, you cannot make someone fight for you by pressure or persuasion. You can only create the conditions for their inner shift when you stay grounded, when you hold unwavering calm in the face of uncertainty, when you honor yourself while honoring their pace. You become the force that transforms avoidance into action. Their hesitation meets your certainty, their fear meets your presence, and in that divine intersection, choice emerges. And here's what is extraordinary. When an avoidant fights for you, it is never about proving themselves to the world. It is about proving to themselves that they are capable of courage, capable of connection, capable of love that demands more than comfort. The fight is not an obligation. It is a declaration of awakening. You must understand the timing of life. Nothing can be rushed. Nothing can be forced. The universe does not bend to fear or impatience. But when readiness aligns with opportunity, when patience intersects with unwavering belief, you witness transformation. That exact moment is sacred. That exact moment is powerful. That exact moment is unstoppable. And when it finally arrives, you will see it in their eyes. Not just a willingness to stay, but a willingness to risk, to step forward, to embrace love fully. And you will know, love is not about control. It is about creation. Love is not about holding on. It is about inspiring the other to hold on with their own courage. That fight, that leap, that commitment, it is the ultimate proof that even the most guarded heart can awaken when met with respect, patience, and unwavering belief. So never doubt the power of your presence, the depth of your integrity, the resonance of your love, because in the right moment, the avoidant will not just fight for you, they will rise for themselves, and in doing so, they will rise for the relationship you both deserve. And that, my friend, is the kind of transformation that changes lives forever. To truly understand the moment an avoidant decides to fight for you, you must first understand the landscape of their heart. Avoidance is not coldness, and it is certainly not a reflection of a lack of love. It is a carefully constructed fortress, built over years to protect themselves from the very thing they secretly crave: connection. Beneath their distance, hesitation, and withdrawal lies a deep vulnerability. The avoidance behavior is a shield, not a weapon. It is their way of navigating the world when intimacy feels dangerous, when emotions feel overwhelming, and when their trust has been tested too many times. They have learned, often unconsciously, that stepping into emotional exposure can bring pain. They fear that if they let themselves fully feel, fully connect, fully love, they might lose control or be hurt. And so they withdraw, they detach. They create space, not out of indifference, but out of self-preservation. It is crucial to recognize that this pattern is not personal. Their avoidance is rarely about you. It is about their inner world, their past experiences, and the strategies they have developed to survive emotionally. Many avoidants grew up in environments where emotional expression was risky or where their needs were not fully met. They learned to rely on themselves, to suppress their vulnerabilities, and to measure the cost of closeness. Over time, these patterns solidify into automatic responses. When a relationship demands emotional availability, an avoidant may instinctively pull away, not because they do not care, but because intimacy activates fear. Yet, understanding this does more than provide insight. It offers a pathway. By seeing the avoidant not as someone difficult or unloving, but as someone deeply protective of themselves, You begin to shift your perspective. You move from frustration to empathy, from judgment to curiosity. You recognize that their distance is not rejection. It is a signal, a silent message that they are navigating a battle within themselves. When you approach them with patience, with consistency, with unwavering respect for their pace, you are not trying to break down their walls forcefully. You are offering them a safe place to lower them on their own terms. In essence, understanding the avoidant nature is about seeing beyond surface behaviors and connecting with the human being underneath. It is about honoring their fear while inspiring them to move toward love. It is about recognizing that avoidance is not a permanent state, but a conditional response, a strategy that can be softened when trust is nurtured. The avoidant heart is complex, but complexity does not mean impossibility. With insight, patience, and emotional intelligence, you can reach the moment when the avoidant finally steps forward, not because they were coerced, but because they feel secure enough, courageous enough, and ready enough to risk love. Emote. Your security is the invisible foundation upon which every meaningful connection is built, and it is the exact key that unlocks the avoidant heart. An avoidant does not fight for a relationship merely out of obligation or fleeting desire. They fight when they feel safe, truly safe, to step into vulnerability without fear of judgment, rejection, or suffocation. This is not about control or manipulation. It is about creating an environment where their fears are acknowledged, their boundaries respected, and their autonomy honored. When an avoidant senses that love is not a trap, but a space of freedom, that is when the transformation begins. That is when hesitation begins to melt, and the courage to engage, to fight, to commit finally rises. Emotional security is not given in words alone. It is expressed in actions, consistency, and presence. It is the unwavering calm in the face of their withdrawal, the patient steadiness when they retreat, and the reassurance that your love is not contingent on their immediate availability. Avoidants are acutely sensitive to unpredictability and chaos. Their nervous systems are primed to detect threat in connection. Every emotional outburst, every inconsistency, every demand for instant closeness can trigger retreat. Conversely, every moment of calm, every demonstration of reliability, every acknowledgement of their need for space reinforces the truth that love can coexist with freedom, that closeness does not have to feel like imprisonment. This principle of emotional security goes deeper than the surface. It is a reflection of respect for their inner world. It is a conscious commitment to meet them where they are rather than where you wish them to be. It is understanding that true intimacy is not about breaking them down, but about inviting them in. Avoidants fight for those who create a container strong enough to hold their fears. Gentle enough to allow love to flourish. They fight when they recognize that connection will not erase their identity, that commitment does not mean control, and that trust is a bridge built steadily, not a leap into the unknown. Importantly, emotional security is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and requires self-awareness. It requires you to manage your own fears, to stay centered when their walls rise, and to communicate with clarity, compassion, and consistency. The avoidant does not respond to uncertainty, pressure, or manipulation. They respond to reliability, empathy, and authenticity. When they feel emotionally secure, the avoidant experiences a shift from self-preservation to self-expression, from avoidance to engagement, from fear to courage. It is in this sacred space of security that the avoidant finally chooses to fight, not out of obligation, not out of desperation, but out of a genuine readiness to step fully into love and connection. Ultimately, emotional security is the catalyst. It is the invisible force that transforms hesitation into action, distance into intimacy, and fear into love. Without it, no amount of persuasion or effort can ignite change. With it, even the most hesitant, guarded hearts find the courage to fight for what they truly desire. And in that moment, the avoidant is no longer running. They are choosing deliberately and powerfully to fight for you. The power to influence an avoidant heart is not found in force, argument, or urgency. It is found in presence, and not just any presence, but a non-reactive, grounded, unwavering presence. This is the kind of presence that radiates calm, confidence, and emotional stability even in the face of their withdrawal, their testing, or their uncertainty. Avoidants are highly sensitive to emotional turbulence. They sense tension, insecurity, and desperation like a radar, and it often triggers retreat rather than engagement. When you respond with agitation, judgment, or fear, it reinforces their pattern of avoidance. But when you maintain a non-reactive presence, you create the paradoxical space where connection feels safe, and they are able to lean into vulnerability without feeling overwhelmed or cornered. Non-reactive presence is more than patience. It is a demonstration of mastery over your own emotions. It is the ability to witness their fears, doubts, and withdrawals without becoming entangled in them. It is understanding that their distance is not a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their internal struggle. By staying centered, calm, and composed, you silently communicate that their emotions, however intense or confusing, will not destabilize the relationship. You become the calm anchor in the storm of their avoidance, the steady force that allows them to explore intimacy at their own pace. This principle works because avoidance is a reaction to perceived threat. Emotional intensity, pressure, and unpredictability are threats that provoke the defensive instinct, but non-reactive presence transforms perceived threat into safety. When you respond with balance instead of reaction, patience instead of judgment, and understanding instead of criticism, the avoidance nervous system experiences relief. They realize that connection does not have to mean loss of control, and love does not have to feel like suffocation. This subtle but profound shift opens the door for engagement, courage, and eventually action. Non-reactive presence is also deeply relational. It is not passive resignation. It is active awareness and intentionality. It is the ability to listen without interruption, to reflect without distortion, and to hold space without imposing. It conveys the message that you value them, respect their boundaries, and are committed to the redeemed relationship, not to winning a battle or controlling outcomes. In doing so, you allow them to meet you where you are without the need to armor up or flee. When an avoidant finally fights for you, it is often in response to this kind of presence. They recognize that you are not swept away by their unpredictability or distracted by their defenses. They see that your stability, consistency, and calmness are a safe harbor for their fears. In that moment, they realize that risk does not have to equal danger, and that love does not require them to lose themselves. Non-reactive presence is the environment in which avoidance transforms into courage, hesitation transforms into commitment, and fear transforms into connection. In essence, non-reactive presence is the quiet force that disarms avoidance without confrontation. It does not demand, it does not push, it allows. And it is in this space of allowance, safety, and grounded energy that an avoidant heart discovers the courage to step forward, fight for the relationship, and finally embrace the depth of love that has been patiently waiting for them all along. The moment an avoidant begins to fight for you is not simply visible in their words or actions. It is first visible in their inner world. There is a subtle, almost imperceptible shift that occurs within them. A change in perception, in priority, and in willingness to engage that signals a new chapter in their emotional journey. This internal shift is profound because it represents a choice, a conscious or unconscious decision to move from self-preservation to connection, from fear to courage. It is the turning point where avoidance no longer dominates their instincts, and where the desire for love and meaningful connection becomes stronger than the instinct to retreat. Recognizing this shift requires insight and patience. Often, the avoidant will not declare their transformation openly, nor will they make grand gestures immediately. Instead, it is seen in small, consistent changes. They begin to initiate contact more frequently. They engage in honest conversations. They express curiosity about your thoughts and feelings, rather than simply protecting their own. Their walls start to soften, their defenses lower, and they show signs of emotional risk-taking that were previously unimaginable. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of growth, courage, and readiness. The internal shift is also about accountability. Avoidants often wrestle with the tension between their protective instincts and their desire for connection. When they begin to fight for you, it is because they are willing to confront the discomfort, the vulnerability, and the uncertainty that previously kept them at a distance. They are beginning to take responsibility for their patterns, to acknowledge the cost of avoidance, and to see the value in choosing connection over isolation. This does not happen overnight. It is often the result of repeated experiences of safety, respect, and consistency that allow them to trust not only you, but also themselves in the context of love. It is important to understand that this internal shift is not just about you, it is about them. They are fighting for more than the relationship. They are fighting for their own growth, their own emotional evolution. They are testing the limits of their courage, exploring the depths of their capacity to love, and realizing that intimacy, though frightening, is also transformative. When this shift occurs, the avoidant moves from a reactive stance, where every withdrawal is automatic, to a proactive stance, where connection is a deliberate choice. This transformation is subtle, sacred, and powerful. It is the quiet revolution within the heart of someone who once believed that distance was protection. And for those who are patient enough, who have cultivated trust, and who have held space without pressure, this shift becomes visible in their actions, their consistency, and their willingness to fight, not out of fear, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to nurture the bond that matters most. Recognizing this internal shift is essential because it is the precursor to true, lasting change, the avoidance decision to step fully into love, courage, and commitment. One of the most profound truths in relationships, especially with someone who is avoidant, is that change cannot be forced. There is a divine principle at work when it comes to the exact moment an avoidant decides to fight for you, and it is the principle of timing. This principle teaches us that love, courage, and commitment unfold not according to our schedules, but according to a perfect alignment of readiness, clarity, and opportunity. For the avoidant, the decision to engage fully and fight for a relationship comes not from pressure or manipulation, but from a deep inner resonance that tells them it is safe, meaningful, and right to take the leap. Timing is divine because it works through both inner and outer alignment. Internally, the avoidant must reach a place where their fear no longer dictates every decision. They must recognize that vulnerability is not weakness, that love is not a threat, and that connection is a conscious choice rather than a loss of self. Externally, circumstances must provide stability, trust, and the conditions that allow them to act without feeling trapped or coerced. When these internal and external elements converge, something extraordinary happens. Hesitation turns into courage, withdrawal turns into engagement, and avoidance turns into action. This principle also reminds us of patience as a form of power. Often, we want immediate results, quick reassurance, our instant transformation. But the avoidance journey is not linear. It unfolds in stages, sometimes moving forward and sometimes retreating. Pressuring them to decide now or prove their love disrupts the natural rhythm of their growth. True timing allows for the ebb and flow of their emotions, giving them the space to observe, reflect, and ultimately choose. The universe does not rush the avoidant heart. It waits for the readiness that comes from within. Recognizing the divine timing also shifts the focus from control to influence. We cannot dictate when or how someone will fight for us, but we can create the conditions that honor their journey. By providing consistency, respect, and emotional safety, we align ourselves with the timing of their transformation. We honor the sacred process in which avoidance transforms into courage, fear transforms into love, and hesitation transforms into love. And hesitation transforms into commitment. This alignment is subtle, often invisible at first, but it is the invisible architecture upon which lasting connection is built. Ultimately, the principle of timing teaches us that the exact moment is not accidental. It is a convergence of readiness, trust, love, and divine orchestration. When the avoidant finally chooses to fight for the relationship, it is the culmination of internal courage meeting external support. It is a powerful reminder that love cannot be manufactured or coerced. It can only be nurtured, honored, and allowed to unfold according to its own sacred rhythm. And when that moment arrives, it is not only transformative for the avoidant, but it is transformative for the entire relationship, revealing the depth, resilience, and divine timing inherent in true connection. At the heart of every avoidance hesitation lies fear, a fear of vulnerability, of loss, of being misunderstood or overwhelmed by emotion. This fear is powerful, deeply rooted, and often misunderstood by those around them. It is not a lack of love or desire. It is a protective mechanism that has evolved to shield them from pain. Yet within this fear lies immense potential, because fear, when acknowledged and navigated with awareness, can transform into love, the kind of love that is courageous, intentional, and enduring. The moment an avoidant fights for you is always a moment when fear has been transmuted into love, when protective instinct has given way to conscious choice, and when avoidance has been replaced with courage. This transformation begins with recognition. The avoidant must first acknowledge the fear without being overwhelmed by it. They must see that the fear is not a verdict on the relationship or on themselves, but a signal that requires careful attention and conscious action. It is only when they can hold their fear without being consumed by it that the door to love begins to open. This is why patience and consistent presence from the other person are crucial. It is in a safe and supportive environment that fear can evolve into courage and courage into love. Love, in this context, is not naive or blind. It is deliberate and resilient. It is a choice to engage, to connect, and to invest despite uncertainty. For the avoidant, transforming fear into love means realizing that intimacy is not a threat to their autonomy, but an opportunity to expand it. It means understanding that emotional depth does not diminish their strength, but strengthens it. Every act of courage, every moment of engagement becomes a proof to themselves that love is not weakness, but the greatest expression of their capacity to live fully, deeply, and authentically. This process also requires the avoidance of external pressure. Fear cannot be forced into transformation. It must be guided with gentleness, patience, and respect. When an avoidant senses that they are not being rushed, judged, or coerced, they can begin to explore the possibilities that love offers. Their fight for the relationship is not born of guilt or obligation. It is born of conscious realization that love, embraced fully, is more powerful than fear, more sustaining than distance, and more transformative than isolation. Ultimately, the transformation of fear into love is a sacred moment. It marks the point where the avoidant steps beyond the safety of withdrawal and embraces connection as a courageous act. It is when hesitation becomes commitment, retreat becomes pursuit, and fear becomes a catalyst for growth. And when this transformation occurs, it is not only a victory for the avoidant, but for the relationship as a whole. It is the embodiment of the principle that love, when nurtured with understanding, patience, and presence, has the power to dissolve fear, break down walls, and create bonds that are unshakable, intentional, and profoundly liberating. Thank you for trusting me to guide you through this transformative journey. Your growth and understanding matter. Wishing you courage, Claire, witty and love in every step ahead. Goodbye, and keep shining brightly.